What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a test hand combo video for the Hecahand Horus profile I showed you all the other day. Now the idea behind this video is to kind of show you what the deck wants to do, how it kind of interacts, and what the Horus engine adds to the deck. As I've mentioned previously, I don't feel that this is the best version of the deck. I just think it's a more unique and a different style of the deck. You can very easily play it pure, which I quite like the idea of going second and just using cards like Change of Heart, Snatch Steal, and Mind Control, cards like that to kind of take control of your opponent's monsters. I love the idea of Cashteras. I also really like the idea of the Chimera Illusion. I just feel that this version right now, I quite enjoy the Horus package, and especially with the Horus packages all being reprinted in January in the Charmer structure deck, the Chronicles All Foil Edition, I think it'd kind of be a really cool version to look at. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't sound any more upcoming content. So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle up, we're going to cut up, and then we're going to do 2 test sounds going first and 2 going second to kind of show you what we go for. Now I will highlight that one of the biggest issues with this is that you do play a lot of cards that you don't really want to see on the hand on their own, and that's where the other variants kind of do, kind of operate a little bit better. That being said, after all of the shuffle, we're going to draw our first 5 cards, being, poof. Actually kind of an interesting mix here. Now what I mean by an interesting mix here is we've got a way that if our opponent does hand trap us or we can interact with them, Fallen of Virtues gives us a card to set up a disruption. So like if they Azuna us, if they try to Arfuli on us, we have ways to kind of try and deal with that. The Happy is the card that you don't really want to see. We've got an Ash Blossom as an interaction against our opponent, but the idea with the Happy is that we can very easily resolve the Nightmare Apprentice. Now this isn't the most versatile because, I mean, if our opponent draws us, it's not the end of the world, but if our opponent ashes us on our Nightmare Apprentice, it does make it a little bit awkward. But in theory, there are kind of different ways that we can make it play. So I'm not saying that this is perfect, but again, this is just to show you what we have with a type of hand like this. So start off with Nightmare Apprentice, we'll discard the Happy. Like, if I do end up drawing later on in the turn into a King Sarcophagus, at least the Happy can be a free revival. Summon down the Nightmare Apprentice, use Nightmare's Apprentice effects to add. Now the card you're going to want to go for straight away will be your Ibtel. You can use Ibtel's effect, reveal it in the hand, put it back into the deck, and then special summon 1 from the deck. Now, I do like to be greedy sometimes with this one, so if you're feeling really greedy, you go for the Burst, because the Burst lets you look at a random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, you summon it. So what I like about that is it gives you a little bit of hand knowledge, but then if you do take away a monster from your opponent's hand, you're then taking away a bit of their resource, which can be very, very important. Of course, if you want to be a bit more consistent, you go for the Godos, because the Godos gives you like a 1 of 3 rather than a 1 of 1 choice, but that's entirely up to you. So we use the Beerus. We'll assume in these kind of test stands that it always resolves, but you know, take that with a pinch of salt. At the base minimum, you've got an Illusion, plus you've got a Hecahand, so you can still make your Fusion Summon plays. Then what you do here is you'll use the monster owned by your opponent, and the benefit of this one is it puts it in the graveyard straight away, setting up your spell card Monster Reborn, which is really cool. I don't really want to use my Beerus because I quite like keeping the Hecahand monster on the field. So because you can use the Hecahand Jazar as a different way, as long as you use an illusion monster, I quite like leaving this here. So we'll go into the Jazar. Jazar's effect, obviously not a trigger effect, but you get the ability to, during your main phase, add a Hecahand's card from the deck or grave to the hand. So depending on what you want to try and get access to, you can kind of work it that way. The card I'm going to want to go for is going to be our Hidden Hecahands. And the reason you want to do this is you can activate the Hidden Hecahands, and we will send a card. Like, the Jazar's done its job. Like, it doesn't need to be on the field anymore. I still like the idea of the Burst staying on the field, but you can leave one or the other. Like, if you're able to get the Horus in rotation, you can leave this to make a rank 8. Otherwise, you can just, you know, get rid of this. The benefit of this one, you get to add a Hecahand monster, and then because you sent one, you get to set a Hecahand spell. So we're going to grab the Hecahand monster we're going to go for, unless you want to get both the counter traps, which is absolutely fine. You can go for the Gygus, or you can go for the Godos. Now the Godos will be more disruptive during your opponent's turn, and the Gygus is just a little bit more of an extension play right here. So I'm going to go for the Godos just because it gives me a little bit more disruption during my opponent's turn, and the Hidden Hecahands will then let me get one of the spell or trap. So let's go for Yadal, because then at least I can deal with my opponent's spell or trap effects. There we go. And now if I want to get the Godos to the field right now, I can use the Hidden Hecahands to then let my opponent draw one and discard one. Whether I want them to do that or not, you know, different story. Sometimes I don't want them to add a card to kind of like freshen up their hand, but, you know, either or. But if you want to guarantee the Godos, you just banish this, they draw one, they discard one, use Godos effect to summon itself down to the field. So now I've got Godos, I've got Beerus. I can then use, if I want to get another fusion into play, I can use the spell card Monster Reborn, but honestly, I'm just going to save all of this. We're going to set this. Now, this isn't like the most depressive field ever, but what this does do is it does set up like quite a few interactions against your opponent. Because what we have here is we've got Godos, and I know my opponent already has one monster in the graveyard. If they discarded another one that could be of a use to me, I can use the Godos to revive it, and I can get a bit of a benefit from that one. But what we've got here is if my opponent activates a spell or trap card effect, I can use the Yugioh and then set it. I've got the Fallen and the Virtuous to pop to destroy a face-up card my opponent controls, and then because I'll send the Albion, I'll then get to reset a Fallen and the Virtuous for the next turn. Then I've got Spell Card Monster Reborn to steal one of my opponent's monsters, if they're trying to revive it from the graveyard or whatever. And the benefit of having 2 Hecahands on the field is your opponent needs to get rid of both of these to make sure that your counter trap card is not live. So you're kind of covering everything, and then you've got your Ash Blossom. So technically you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions against your opponent, and keeping in mind your opponent is going to have 1 less card in the hand because you resolve the Beerus, so they're going to only have 5 cards to play with. So if you're able to kind of interact with every single one of those, you can really make it very tricky for your opponent. And then the benefit of something like this is, like, let's say I use the Godos and I take one of my opponent's monsters. Let's say I've used all of these. In the end phase, the Albion would set the Fallen and the Virtuous again, so I've got a way to disrupt my opponent one more time if I need to, wherever it may be. There we go, so we'll set the Fallen and the Virtuous. We then shuffle up. We'll then draw for turn. There we go. Draw a random card for turn. Doesn't matter what it is, really. Ash Blossom again, that's fine. Because now what we've got is we can now use the Beerus effect again. Look at our opponent's hand. And let's say this one fails. Let's say the opponent doesn't have a monster. But if they do, looking at your opponent's hand, that one card in the hand could be an Ash Blossom. It could be a Draw and Lock Bird. It could be something that would disrupt our plays from this point on. But at the very least, you've got one of the monster owned by your opponent. So you can tribute this off. Then you can also use the Beerus as well if you want to. This will then get you into your second Jazar, wherever it may be. There we go. Go into the second Jazar. Jazar's effect lets you add the hidden Hecahands. Now, again, you've got the option to send if you want to. I don't think you absolutely have to. But what I like about this one is technically I could normal summon down my Ash Blossom, and that's the synchro play that I mentioned previously. But let's say we use the hidden Hecahands. I want to be aggressive, actually, so I'm actually going to... do I need... Blah. I mean, different stories, really. It doesn't make that big of a difference, because what I would do here is I'd use the hidden Hecahands. Keep in mind as well, I've also got a spell or trap that I've stolen from my opponent. I only need to send one other card I control to the graveyard, so I can technically send the spell or trap that I took from my opponent in the previous turn to do so. This would then let me add the Ibtel. It would then also allow me to set a Ibal Hecahand, so I can deal with a monster effect if it does come up. I can then use the Ibtel to reveal itself, summon one from the deck. So we'll summon out our Gygus. Gygus effect can then look at the top 3 cards on my opponent's deck, and one of them being a monster, I can take control of it. So we'll take control of that. And then I can switch the Goddess to attack, and then just go attack, 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 attack. And if they've got anything face up, I obviously have the Fallen and the Virtuous to use to clear it off. And if they're able to survive, I've still got a disruption here. And then I've still got the counter trap of the Ibal as well. And depending on what I took from my opponent, it gives you a little bit more versatility. So that was just like kind of pure Hecahands, I guess. And that's kind of what I like about it, is like I don't want to rely on the Horus. Like the Horus isn't a core component. And as mentioned, it's not the best way of doing it. You can play it many different ways, which is what makes it very, very fun to do. It just gives you a lot more creativity as well, which is really good. But anyway, let's go do a second test stand going first. Again, just trying to show you variety with what this deck can do. It's nice to show off the Hecahands, to show you what each of those cards do. It kind of reminds me of Generators a bit as well, with the hidden Hecahands, like making your opponent draw a card. Ironically, it could be pretty funny to probably play Generator Hecahands as well. Could be quite entertaining. But so we're going to shuffle this up again. We're going to cut up again. And hopefully we'll see an Imseti on this one. There probably are other cards you could play to make the Imseti more consistent, because of course you want your Imseti to be more consistent than your the other Horus monsters. And as mentioned, if you just want to play the Horus monsters as a very minimal package, then of course you can do so. Which isn't the worst thing, because you would cut out like 2 bricks in the deck. So again, completely up to you on playstyle and preference. And like I said, if you wanted to make this deck reach the peak of its potential, then Chimera Illusion, Cache Tearers, like there are other ways to do it. If you just, like me, quite enjoy the Horus package, then this is another one that you can utilize. So, second test stand going first, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, kind of a good option here. Another thing that the King Sark can do, which is really fun, is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target Hecahand monster in the grave and then special summon it. So if I didn't want to use my Ibtel effect right now, I could actually, because obviously if I want to get anything else, if I want to get the Gygas, then of course I can do so. Otherwise I could use King Sarcophagus, send Beerus, which actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to activate the King Sarcophagus. I'm going to use King Sarcophagus effect. I'm going to send the Beerus to allow me to send a Horus monster. So let's send Imseti. I'll then use King Sarcophagus to send the Ibtel. And this will then let me send, you know, protection. Like you can send any other Horus monsters you want to. And then because the Ibtel was sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter how it's get there, it just needs to be sent. I target a Hecahand monster in my grave, accept itself, and special summon it. So I can special summon back the Beerus. I can now use Beerus' effect, look at my opponent's hand, one random card in my opponent's hand and take control of it. Great, I've got everything I need to. Now before I walk into, I mean I could probably do this before Nibiru territory if I wanted to, but we'll bring back protection, we'll bring back Imseti. Now if you're worried about Nibiru, you overlay both of these. Like that's very easy, you go into number 90, you're kind of covered. We still have 2 more discard or 2 more sends off the back of King Sarcophagus. I've still got the ability to activate the hidden Hecahands to get everything I need to, so I've still got a lot to play for. Now, I want to get extra greedy here, right? So this is just an extra greedy play, but if you want to play a defensive play, then this one very easily becomes number 90. Like, there's no doubt about that. That's your protective play. Because of a test hand, I'm going to get greedy here. I'm just going to mill 4 from my deck. Of course, I could mill 4 from my opponent's deck, and if anything does become of any use to me whatsoever. Ironically, I don't actually need to use both of the... Like, because this is a monster my opponent owns, I can actually use this instead. But, you know, entirely up to you. So we'll shuffle these up. We'll then mill 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Ibtel. Okay, interesting. I suppose the only weird thing about the Ibtel is it doesn't really do anything when it's summoned. And then if it's sent, special, I'm pretty sure it only uses its effect once per turn. So the Ibtel's not the ideal one. Like, I'd probably steal one of my opponent's monsters on this one, but it just kind of gives you an idea of where you want to try and go. I can then use the hidden Hecahands. Let's send the... I mean, I've already used the Zombie Vampire. So unless I want to make an SP Little Knight, I can technically send this with the hidden Hecahands. This will let me add. So we'll add... Let's go for... how extension do I want to be? I can actually get both the spells and trap cards, actually. Let's go for Godos, and we'll just double protect our field. We get to set one, so we'll set... I mean, I'll tell you what, I can set both the counter traps if I want to, or I can set Tartarus, it's absolutely fine. Let's tribute this an illusion monster to get into Jazar. Use Jazar's effect to add... I don't think there's any benefit in adding Yudel, to be honest. So you're either going to add Yudal or you're going to add Tartarus. Oh no, I milled the Tartarus, didn't I? I mean, this does let me add it from the graveyard. So I'll set... I'll set the Ibal from the hidden Hecahands. And then I'll use the Jazar's effect to add back the Tartarus. It's actually kind of important to add back the Tartarus here, because what this can give me the ability for is as long as I control a Hecahand, I get to target spell trap my opponent controls and return it to the hand, or I get to fusion summon a Hecahand fusion monster from the extra deck by banishing materials from the field and or grave. If I use a face-up monster my opponent controls as well, it could be quite useful. But the reason that's useful is I can use the Tartarus now, and I can banish 3 from my graveyard. I've only got 2. Okay, I mean, that's not the end of the world, because I can just go, cool, hidden Hecahands, make my opponent draw 1, discard 1, summon down the Godos. Then I can use Tartarus to banish Jazar. Oh, actually, leave Jazar on the field. That can become another nice level 8. Let's get rid of Beerus, Ibtel, and Ibtel. This will then let me get into Xeno. The benefit of Xeno now is that I've got a quick effect. Look at 2 random face-down cards from my opponent's extra deck and special on one of them to my field. So I can then use the effect of this, special on a monster from my opponent's extra deck to my field. If I wanted to, I could use it as material for like a Dampier or another vampire. But now what we can do here, if I don't really want to keep the Ash Blossom, is I can use King Sark to discard the Ash Blossom. Send another level 8 from the deck to the grave. So let's send the Blessing. And then what did I pick one here? Did I pick Monster? Yeah, Monster. So now what I can do is I can bring this back and then overlay both of these. Let me just double 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I just wanted to double check that wasn't 8. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was. So I've got the Monster Negate here. So let's go for the Spell Negate here. I still control a monster owned by my opponent. Tartarus is now in the graveyard. I've got the Goddess, which can disrupt my opponent as well. So what we'll do is we'll pass turn here. I've got the Spell Negate and Absorb here. I've got the Monster Negate here. I've got the ability to take another card from my opponent's extra deck if I want to. But keeping in mind, if I'm going to do this, this should really be up in the extra monster zone. Because now what happens is I can use this effect here, take one from my opponent's extra deck, and then I still have the ability to use the Goddess to take another one from my opponent from their graveyard. So now as it currently stands, I've got the Goddess that's disrupted, I've counter-trapped them, I've spell negated them, and I've got this. The only downside is if they clear this off, I can't really take control of any of my opponent's monsters. So that's something you need to take into account. That being said, as this comes back to me, I draw 1 card for turn, doesn't matter what it is. Obviously a bit of a shame I don't have a discard, but that's where King Sark can come into play. So now what I've got the ability for is I can tribute off one of my opponent's monsters that I've taken control of, plus a Hecahand monsters, so I can get rid of the Goddess if I want to. Get me into the Jazar. Jazar's effect can let me add, so now I've got the discard for the Nightmare Apprentice if I want to, but probably don't need to do that. Let's go for the Ibtel. If I want to revive a card from the graveyard, I discard the Ibtel off of the Nightmare Apprentice. If I want to get the Gygus from the deck, I can actually just use Apprentice to search it. So, still in a good position. I could use the Hidden Heckhands as well, actually. Hidden Heckhands will probably be a bit better here because it will clear off a space on the field. So, Hidden Heckers, send this. Grab me Ibtel, or if I've just put it back. There we go. Grab me the Ibtel. Hecahands lets me set. So we'll set the Yadal. If I wanted to loop back the Tartarus, I could do with the Jazar, but I don't need to. Yeah, and then it really kind of comes down to what I want to take. I can use this again to take one of my opponent's monsters. I've still got all the Horus cards in the graveyard that can now come back. I've got 3 discard fodder for the King Sark. Like, I can present this field however I see fit. Like, taking a lot of my opponent's resources, this is all well enough, like 34, 24, 3k. And then if I want more, I've got Imseti and everything else to come back. So there's a lot more resource that can start to pull apart, which is really, really kind of cool. So that's it for test stand number 2, and our both test stands going first. Now let's see how good this deck can be going second. I think that's the one thing that the deck naturally doesn't have, is it doesn't have ways, unless you're playing Change of Heart or anything else like that, it doesn't have natural ways to take cards from your opponent's field. So maybe that's the next wave of support. Maybe a Hecahand spell that lets you take control, like is the own in-archetypal, searchable Change of Heart or something, could be really kind of cool. But whether that becomes massively too much or not, well, we'll wait to see. So we'll shuffle up, we'll cut up, then we'll go second. So we'll draw our opening hand of 5, and then we'll draw our 6th card for turn as well, just in case we can disrupt our opponent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Apart from this, it's actually a really good hand. So we'll ash our opponents, we'll weaken them up a little bit. We'll draw a card for turn. This actually isn't so bad. So this is one thing that a lot of people be like, well, what happens if you open up 2 Kokomirus? I was like, well, it's actually not that bad, because what you can get off the back of this is it means you can leave the Kokomiru Guardian on the field. So start off by normal summoning down the Kokomiru Guardian. This can now trade with any card your opponent has on the field, or any monster your opponent has on the field, all right? So now what I can do, if my opponent tries to use like Horn to return this, I can obviously chain the Fallen and the Virtuous to try and destroy another card. But this doesn't bother me if they return this to hand, because what I'm trying to do here is resolve the Ibtel. So I've got Fallen and the Virtuous that I could use during the draw phase as well if I wanted to. It doesn't make much of a difference. It's just a trade-off. The only time this doesn't trade off is if my opponent has the Herald of the Art Light. And if they have the Herald of Art Light, I just go, cool, normal summon Kokomiru Guardian, go to the battle phase. Tried to declare on Snatchy. They changed Snatchy's effect to try and synchro or bring back from the grave. I go, cool, chain Quacky Mirror Guardian. They'll chain Herald. And I'm like, okay, cool, chain Virtuous. Now that Herald's gone, I can send from the extra deck. So there's ways you can kind of like trade, the ways you can kind of trade off. But so we'll just do Quacky Mirror Guardian to kind of check our opponent in certain activations that they want to try and do. We'll use the Ibtel. This will give direct access to, up to you. You can go, if they've got more of a hand limit, I can go for the Beerus, because the idea is you want to try and see, most times people will keep, the cards that they keep in their hand are going to be monsters anyway, going second. So I can use my Beerus, look at my one random card in my opponent's hand. Hopefully it's a monster, take control of it. And then I can kind of build on from here. So I still need to use an illusion, which means I'll need to use the Beerus plus the monster I've just taken from my opponent to get me into Jazar. Jazar's effect, grab us the hidden Hecahands. This is where like a little bit of resource becomes a bit of an issue. Nothing major though, because I can just set the Yugioh, then use hidden Hecahands to send the Yugioh. Sorry. This will then allow me to grab one. So let's grab Gygas. I sent one, so I get to set one. So I can set either Ibal or the Tartarus, like whichever one I feel is going to be the most disruptive for my opponent. The set is kind of like the annoying part, because like the hidden Hecahands can't set itself, so it's not like something I want to be getting advantage from. Anyway, I digress. Then let's go hidden Hecahands, banish, opponent draws one, summon down the Gygas. Gygas looks at the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck, one of them being a monster, we take control of that. So now we've got these 4 monsters on the field. I can of course start to rank up because I've got an 8 here, and this is now going to be an 8, because if I want to overlay this with my opponent's monster, I can use it for the Zombie Vampire. I can then use Zombie Vampire's effect, so let's put Jazar into the graveyard. Mill 4 from me and 4 from my opponent. Ooh, oh, okay. Nightmare or Godos? Godos is actually quite interesting. Because, so with Apprentice, I can add, I mean, I've already gone through Beerus, I've already gone through Gygas, so this would only add me the Yugioh. Yugioh will then get me, put itself back into the deck and get me a spell or trap. So I'm probably going to be better off going for the Godos here. So let's do this, take the Godos. Overall, this is actually still quite a strong field, because if I, again, I'm going to go battle phase. When my opponent's got a monster in face up, I can use the Fallen and the Virtuous. We'll send Albion, because I'm just going to replace it in the end phase anyway. So we'll send Albion, we'll destroy it. We'll then go, cool, battle phase of 1200. I forgot Gygas was only 1200. You know what, whatever. 1200, 23, 3k, 19. What does that put us on? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I mean, this is 8k anyway, so that should get the job done. If it doesn't, we move to the end phase. We reveal the Quacky Mirror Guardian off of Quacky Mirror Guardian, which means that stays around. We then get to set a Fallen and the Virtuous. Oh, that's the hidden Hecahands. Where's the second Fallen and the Virtuous? We've got a disruptor in the form of the Godos. And the benefit of being able to disrupt with the Godos here is that during our opponent's turn, use Godos to take one of our opponent's monsters. Then we can use Tartarus to banish this monster from our opponent. Banish 2 from the graveyard, which can be your Beerus and the Jazar. Which then lets us get into our Xeno. Xeno can then use his effect to look at 2 cards from our opponent's extra deck, take one of them. And then we've got the Quacky Mirror Guardian, that if they try and use a monster effect, we can tag it out to negate. We've then got Fallen and the Virtuous that we can use to disrupt. And then it comes back to us. We draw for turn. We go, doesn't matter what this card is, it's irrelevant. Normal summon our Quacky Mirror Guardian. We still have Zombie Vampire if you want to. So detach material, mill 4, 1, 2. I shouldn't have done that because I've got no space on the field. But we hit a Ibtel and we hit a Yugioh, so we can actually recycle quite a bit here. But I shouldn't have done that because I've got no space on the field. What I should have done is use... I needed to clear space off, which is kind of a mistake here, because I could get rid of, like, the most logical one to get rid of would be the Godos plus the monster that I've taken from my opponent to get me into the Jazar. Jazar would give me the hidden Hecahands, or actually I can just recycle a Tartarus from the graveyard. I don't want Tartarus, actually. It could recycle the Yugioh. Doesn't make much of a difference. But if we want to clear some space off, what we can do is we'll grab hidden Hecahands. We can use Gygus to take control, or like to look at the top 3. Hopefully you hit a monster. Like, the only time that hitting a monster is going to be bad is if you're facing Sky Strikers. Use hidden Hecahands, send this. Get us access to, I don't know what Hecahand monsters I've got left, actually. Yeah, Ibtel. And set us Ibal. So I've got all of this going for me. I don't think the Ibtel actually has any more targets. No, the Ibtel doesn't have any more targets, which is pretty funny. The card in the hand was protection. So, I mean, still good, because we've still got the Xeno that can, again, one from our opponent's extra deck. This should all be enough for game. I've got SP Little Knight I can make at some point, but like I said, this is our second turn attacking, so. Okay, let's go second one more time. It's not really showing off the Horus cards, which I don't actually mind. Obviously, it'd be nice to show them off at its max potential, but maybe you play 3 King Sark. I'm not sure. Just because like the discard effect is something you need to keep in mind, and I think that's one thing I've done when I try to build this deck, which is why I don't play Super Polymerization, as I explained in the profile, is that you discard a lot already. Like, if you resolve your Imseti, you want to discard. If you resolve your Nightmare Apprentice, you want to discard. And if you resolve your King Sarcophagus, you want to discard. So, to then add Forbidden Droplet and to then add Super Polymerization to that mix, like, you'll burn through your hand resource very, very fast. Anyway, after another decent shuffle and a good old cut, our hand 5 moving into 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. And then 6. Okay, no disruptions against our opponent, but this is actually quite a good hand. Actually, a really good hand. Apart from a draw, like a draw would suck, but actually, it wouldn't be so bad, actually, a draw. I could still make plays work. I would probably prioritize the Imseti, maybe, but then I probably want to bait something out as well. So, I don't want to use Yugioh, because if I use Yugioh and I get drolled, I don't get anything from it. So, let's go with Ibtel. We'll reveal this to try and bait out, and the reason this is a good bait out is because we put it back into the deck. If it resolves, just because of the way I play this, I would go for the Beerus, and then I would threaten my opponent's hand. So if my opponent does have a droll, I can use Beerus effect to try and threaten it. And then if they have an interaction for the Beerus, they'll interact with the Beerus. And I'm like, okay, cool, go from there. And it also means that if I reveal the Ibtel, my opponent would then be tempted to ash it as well, because they don't want a card like this to enter the field of play. And the fact it's reveal in the hand doesn't shuffle back as cost is really good, because then it means if I want to discard it, I can bring a card back from the grave, which is quite important. So let's say we go Beerus. We'll go on the assumption now, right, that the Beerus baits out an interaction from our opponent. Like, our opponent interacts with this. Whether they negate it, destroy it, you name it, like, let's get rid of it, okay? So now what I'll do is I'll use, if I feel that Imseti is safe to resolve, I'll use Imseti. If I don't think it's safe to resolve, I'm probably going to use Apprentice more times than not. But we'll use Imseti. Imseti gives us access to King Sarcophagus. And then we'll shuffle up to draw 1 card. So we've kind of like, not replenished our hand, but kind of broken, relatively broken even. There you go, draw the random card off of Imseti. Ibta, okay. Now we can use King Sarcophagus, and this is where it gets really, like, this, coming off the back of the Beerus, is actually pretty broken. So, activate the King Sarcophagus. Rather than using this effect, in case my opponent wants to change something to it, we'll just bring both of these back here. And then depending on what I want to protect against, I would probably go into it. So if I want to protect against a monster, I go here. If I want to protect against a spell, I go here. If I don't want to protect against anything, I go greedy, I go Zombie Vampire. Because then at least with Zombie Vampire, I can start to mill some cards. But let's say monster effect, so we'll go Galaxy Photon. Then let's go Nightmare Apprentice. Discarding the Ibtel. Get us access to Gygas. Ibtel's Graveyard effect. Brings back Beerus. I'm 99% sure. Yeah, each of the Beerus effects is like once per turn. So just in case, you never know. Right, so I've got all of this. Now I could very easily use Yugioh, reveal it in the hand, put it back into the deck, grab me access to the hidden Hecahands. There we go. We're going to use hidden Hecahand's effect here. I could keep Nightmare Apprentice actually, would probably be more beneficial for me. So let's use hidden Hecahands, let's send Horus. Let's grab us Godos, I think is the only monster left. We'll set a Yodal, we'll grab Godos. Now remember, I'm 99% sure, this is how I've understood it, is that if I was to activate hidden Hecahand's effect to make my opponent draw and discard, I can't summon both of these, I can only summon one of them. So that's something to keep in mind. So we'll then use hidden Hecahands, our opponent draws one, discards one. This will trigger, and we're going to go for the Gygus. Gygus effect, look at the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck, one of them's a monster, so we'll take control of it. Then we can use that monster we've just taken as a level 6 to then go into the Dhampir. And this just gives you a bit more of an aggressive option to try and send from your opponent's field. So this one is if you use a monster with a level that is owned by your opponent for the XZ summon of this card, it's treated as a level 6. Once per turn, detach material from this card, target a card your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. And then once per turn, if a monster card is sent from the field to the grave by an opponent's card, to your opponent's graveyard by a card effect, or monster is destroyed by battle and sent to your opponent's graveyard, detach material from this card, special summon one of those monsters. So we would detach one to send one, and then we would detach another to take control of it again. So what I've done is I've been able to clear one of my opponent's monsters off, get it back, and the benefit of something like this, again, is I can then get rid of both of these, go into Jazar. Jazar then lets me add, and the reason I want to add is, let's have a look what I've got left. We will add Tartarus. There we go. We can then use King Sark's effect, discard Apprentice, puts another Horus monster into the graveyard. So let's put Protection. We can then, have I got enough for Tartarus yet? I've got 1, 2, yeah, I've got 3 in the graveyard, but, you know, that's no fun. Let me take one of my opponent's monsters. So let's overlay, bring back the Protection, overlay both of these, Zombie Vampire. Zombie Vampire effect, detach the Jazar, just that I've got another Hecahand in the graveyard. 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter what I reveal because I don't plan to take anything from my mills. I've already used the Ibtel Revive effect. So we're going to take control of one of our opponent's monsters, and the benefit of that one is that I can technically go to the battle phase actually. I can still use King Sark to send, but the card I've got left isn't going to have any attack points. We'll go to the battle phase. In the battle phase, we'll go 25, 26, 3,000, attack with whatever this is, so even like 100 life points. Then still in the battle phase, activate Tartarus. Tartarus will then allow us to banish this monster we've taken from our opponent, and then banish 2 from the graveyard, being your Ibtel, Jazar, and Gygus, maybe? Get rid of Gygus. Go into Xeno. And then Xeno can attack for 34. Now, is this just during the main phase? Yeah, it's during the main phase. God, can you imagine if that wasn't during the main phase? Effect, steal from my opponent's extra deck, attack. But that does that, okay? Then, if my opponent adds during their turn, summon down this. I can disrupt, take from my opponent. I've got a disruption to take there already. I've got another way to take from that. And I can turn this plus the card that I take from my opponent into an SP Little Knight. Like, there's just so much I can continue to do. And as long as the King Sarcophagus stays face up on the field, during the next turn, I just bring back all the Horus monsters. So, like, the resource is really kind of cool. Really aggressive. So, anyway, I hope this gives you a bit of an insight into how the deck wants to work. Like I've said, and I'm going to keep repeating this because I don't want to, you know, I don't want people like, yeah, but the better version is X, Y, and Z. I agree with you. The better version is, but this is just the version that I quite like playing. I like the Horus cards. I feel whatever they are, like whatever deck I play them in, I really do enjoy the way that they work, which I think is really kind of cool. But, you know, for now, that is pretty much it. I really do enjoy Hecahands. I think they're really fun to utilize. I feel that they still have a bit to go, but I don't think they're that far off. I think they're really, really kind of fun and powerful. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.